Welcome, Jaclyn. It is so wonderful to have you here. We have so much to talk about. You are Collette's president and chief customer experience officer. A lot of words, but I love it. I love that experience part because I'm a huge fan of Colette's. Let's talk more about your career in travel, how it began and how it's evolved, because I know you've worn a lot of hats. And Collette has successfully been in business for over 100 years.
Yes.
That's amazing. So
Yes,
let's talk about that. Oh my gosh.
okay. No, we're going to have fun today. And thank you so much, Suzanne, for having me on. It's so great to see you again.
Oh, it's so lovely to have you. I'm excited. You can tell.
We can talk travel. So this is going to be a fast time together.
That's right.
So yeah, how did I get into travel? So Collette is part of a family business. I'm third generation of that family business. And so we're actually in our 105th season. So we've been around 105 years, which is so hard to believe. But it's great. It shows that, you can be around for 105 years, but still be innovative and still pioneer in this day and age and change with the times and that's where experience comes in to bring it back to the chief experience officer. That's what we sell at the end of the day. Travel is an experience. It's a personalized and individual experience. We can create a tour that can take 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, but the individual experience, everyone can go home and tell a different story and how it impacts them, right? That's the power of travel and what we get to do. And that's why being chief experience officer is so important, so powerful, because it has to be the center of our universe here at Collette, because we need to make sure that that is what we hone in on when we design our tour products every single day all across the world. It's just so important. But how I got into it, being part of the family, I mean, first,
Right.
Being younger, we were a much smaller organization. I started in the mailroom when I was much younger. But then in the summers and when I was in college, I would tour guide. And back then we did some air travel, but not as much. We were a motor coach company. So I did some of our Penn Dutch tours, and I did our Maine clam bakes, and I did our Montreal, Quebec tours. And they would be like long weekend tours. So, you'd pick your people up along the way on the bus, and you would do the tour, and then you drop them off on the way back. Yeah, that's how we operated at one point in time. And then back, in the late 80s, that's when we expanded into Switzerland and started doing and expanded that air travel and the international product. So in 2005, we discontinued the motor coach and really expanded that air travel. So I did the tour manager side of it in college. I worked outside the business when I graduated college because we had to for a couple of years. But then when I came into the business, I came in to do product design. So I did the designing. I would go into destination that I would oversee, and I would look at the hotels that we could use for the tours in each of the cities. So all of the routings of the itineraries, the buying. So I'd have to, what does the comp set look like? All that stuff that goes into it, all the nuts and bolts. It's really not as fun to probably talk about, but to really bring that experience to life at a good cost, right? But also a good experience. So designing everything and choosing from everything from the hotels to the motor coach companies that we would use, to the restaurants that we would eat in, to the places that we would visit each and every day. To the balance of free time as well. And that's evolved over time. So, did that and then had the pricing elements behind it and all of that stuff. So that's and then I went into the call center and sat in there for a little while to learn the sales piece of things. So I've kind of moved around the organization because I wanted to learn different aspects. And I wanted to learn from the customer view, which you obviously get as a tour manager when you're on the road, but you get that through the lens when you're listening on the phone as a res agent. Answering traveler questions or talking to the travel advisors as well. So that was a great learning experience. And I got to learn the systems that we use. So a lot of stuff that I use in my day-to-day today, even in the role that I play. If a customer calls me and has a bad experience, I don't have to call the call center and say, hey, can you look this booking up? I can actually look it up myself because I did it at one point in time. So, yeah.
It's remarkable what goes into a tour. We just arrive and we wake up in the morning and we go. I can't believe what Collette is able to accomplish and offer based on the price point. I think it's remarkable. I really do.
Yeah.
And my history with Collette has been since 2018. And my first trip was to Japan. And my second trip was to Iceland. And honestly, Jaclyn, those are one of the two most amazing travel experiences of my life. And it's all because of Collette and all the things that there's so many moving parts.
Very much so.
It blows my mind. And I went back and visited all of you when you were celebrating your 100th anniversary. And I got to be in the building and put face with names. And I can't believe how accomplished everyone is. And everyone felt to me like family. Is that I realize they are part of your family, literally. But at the same time, Collette is a family.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, right today, or even pre-COVID, we were, let's say, almost 700 employees. I mean, it's a lot of operational execution that happens on the back end to execute our product, which is where the employee count comes from, right? So, and just having 100 and almost 200 tours operate throughout the year. So it's a lot of back end work that needs to happen, and which is great because we get to employ those folks, and they get to bring the experiences to life for all of the travelers. But yeah, even then we had maybe 5 people that were actually family members of all those people. But yes, that it is truly a family culture feel within the buildings, within the organization. It always truly has been. And believe me, throughout COVID, obviously that was challenged in so many ways. But that's how I think we've come out strong. But yes, to your point, to design the tours, and to do Japan, which I have to just say, just so you know, you've gotten there before I have. So I'm extremely, extremely jealous. Because obviously I read the itineraries, I see the videos, we proof all this stuff, and I want to go so badly. So I will make my way there one day. But then you got to tell me about the high-speed train, because I would love to know how that experience was, because I can't wait to do it. And I'm sure my kids would love it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's amazing.
How old are your kids?
10 and 12. Twin boys are 12. Yeah.
They're getting to the age where when they go on a monumental trip like this, that memory is going to stay with them, right? Oh, yeah. I'm sure they've probably been traveling throughout their lives.
Not as much. Gift. We actually did our first international trip with them December of 2019. We took them to the Christmas markets in Europe, and they loved it. We did Austria and Germany, and they had a wonderful time. So we were just getting to start traveling with them. And then obviously COVID happened, so that delayed that, but they keep wanting to go back. So we're just now, obviously we're a couple years older and sports are in the mix. So we're working our way back into that, because obviously I come from travel and I know how important it is. So, and they loved it. So we definitely got to get them back there. But to design even just a tour, to your point, like a tour like Japan or even Iceland, but let's take Japan as a perfect example. There are so many ways that could be designed. You could get a cookie cutter, because when you go anywhere, there's the must-sees, right? You're going to go to Japan, you want to see Mount Fuji. There are things that you have to get the picture of Colosseum, Mount, whatever it is when you go somewhere, Eiffel Tower. But there are things that you can really break off from the common experience. And what Collette does is we've broken away from working through ground operators on ground that are going to give you more of the cookie cutter experience that every other tour operator is going to offer you, because they're going to get certain rates the more volume that they drive through, which means you're going to get more typical travelers through the cookie cutter experience, where we have our designers who are working for Collette, who are designing, who are from destination and are not trying to take you to the places. They're going to take you to the must that you have to do. And we recognize that we have to incorporate those into some of the tour products. But you're also going to get the things that are really off the beaten path that you're not going to see the other more larger tour companies doing, because they're not doing that. They're not owning their customer experience and their brand experience, because they're not doing it themselves. They're buying it through a third party. And I think that's a key differentiator for sure when it comes to the pricing that you mentioned earlier, but also the overall experience. But that's how you get to kind of curate these really great experiences that balance the musts with the, I didn't really know that I wanted to see that. Because a lot of times that's what happens. When people are at the purchase phase of travel, they're buying it because they think that's, they want to see. Australia, New Zealand's a perfect example of this, in that people always buy Australia, New Zealand, and they're thinking that they want to see the Great Barrier Reef, and they want to see, if they're going to the Outback, they want to see, Ayers Rock, or they want to go to the Outback, or they want to see the Sydney Opera House. Those are the three things that people buy that tour product for all the time. What do they write about in their surveys? What do they come home talking about? And what do they tell their tour managers? It's all about the beauty of New Zealand. They had no idea what a hidden gem the beauty of New Zealand was. And I will personally say New Zealand is actually one of my favorite places, because it truly is. But it's one of those things that they have no idea, and it's what they go home talking about. So that's the power of when you purchase what you think, and when you go home what you're talking about, and what you then sell to your friends, your family, and everything else about why they then have to go travel.
Well, and I think it speaks to the expertise of Collette, because I went back, in preparation with talking with you, I went back. So I was in Japan in 2018.
Yep.
And I went back through, and honestly, it gives me chills and blows my mind what we were able to see. I didn't know I wanted to see these things. It's exactly what you said, but everything is so special and unique, and the human beings that you meet and the meals that you have. And it's not just get off a bus and go see a thing. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. So many more layers. I didn't know most of the things that I saw. I didn't know that I wanted to see them. I've heard of some of them, but I'd never even dreamed that I could do it. And I think Japan is one of those places that small group tours are a must. In my humble opinion, I think that is the absolute best way to see Japan. Now it's open now, and there's a lot less restrictions. I'm imagining that you're going to start seeing bookings for Japan because people have been waiting, right?
Honestly, do you want to know the crazy thing? We never saw bookings slow down for Japan. And we had to keep moving. So people, even travelers, thought last September, and I'm trying to think of the years, but and October. So they opened it just a little too late, that we had to cancel some of the November departures, because people were still waiting they were ready to travel. They wanted to go back. So of course it's booming for us. As soon as it opened, it's, it was wide open, and the travelers were like, I'm going back, because the world was shut down for too long, especially for travelers in our target market, like that, in our demographic. 2 years is a long time to miss out on traveling to destinations that you want to go to.
Oh, it was agony. It was pure agony. In fact, I did do some traveling anyways, because I am who I am. And it was like, I'm going to do this. I can't stay home. Travel just feeds my soul. And that's why I love doing this, because I get to talk to you about travel. And with Japan, I mean, we went to Kyoto, we went to Hiroshima. Let's talk about the high-speed train. That was so cool. I mean, you think that everything's going to be blurry, but it's not. And it's modern, and it's just so cool. Is there a better way to say that? I don't know. And you're there in just like a second. And I loved it. It was like riding like at Disneyland, they have the monorail. It was like going on the monorail.
No, honestly, it looks, believe me, I've seen so many videos. I've seen like I said, it looks amazing. So that, I think, would be awesome. You also did the fish market, did you not? Where you have the sushi?
The Chijiki fish market. Yes, we did. It was so cool. They have since closed that one that I went with Collette. I was lucky enough to be invited back to go back to Japan a second time with a train company. And that was a unique experience as well. The fish market is obviously world known, worldwide. It was fantastic. There was great sushi. That day, actually, we get off the bus and it is raining sideways. And nobody cared. You're in Japan, it didn't matter. We had snow on that trip. We had 80 degrees on that trip. We had cherry blossoms on that trip. It was one of those, we went to the top of it wasn't Fuji, it was a different mountain. We did see Fuji. Oh my God. So I want you to talk, but I want to tell you this quick story. So we're in Hakone. Hakone is like a spa place where there's volcanic water, and it was magical. And we were in this beautiful hotel that was I don't recall the name of it, but it was absolutely lovely. And we're all in our rooms. We're kind of resting before we're going to have dinner. And there's a knock at the door, and it's our guide. And she said, "I'm really sorry to disturb you, but the clouds have parted and you can see Mount Fuji." I'm getting the chills as I'm telling you this. You can see Mount Fuji from the lounge, which is unheard of.
Yes.
And she went and told every single room. We went out there. My photos are unbelievable. There it was. And you wouldn't normally see it because it's covered in clouds. But it was that kind of attention to detail that I love about our guides. I mean, they all became my best friend because they're remarkable humans.
Yeah.
And they keep everything in order. But at the same time, the knowledge that they have on these tours is impeccable.
It's amazing. No, honestly, they are the most amazing. They're the most impactful people on tour by far. They make or break the experience overall. I mean, you're traveling to amazing destinations, but if you do not have a great guide, you could be in the best place in the world, but you could have a really subpar time. So it's really, you can get great pictures, but it can impact the overall experience and how you feel going home, for sure.
Oh, it's everything.
But they are beyond knowledgeable. It's so fun. I mean, they become your friend. They become someone that you trust. They are the most trusted person. I mean, you trust them. If you're going to eat street food and they tell you that you can eat that street food and you are in Vietnam and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're like, I promise you, and they can get you to eat street food. And it is legit, very good street food. That's some of the best food that you will eat, and you will not get sick. So it's like, it's that they build, but it's the history. I mean, the knowledge that these guides have is like amazing.
You just sit there. You just sit there and listen. And you're looking at this scenery and you're so prepared for when you get off that bus. Let me tell you a little bit about today. And we're going to see this and we're going to see that. And you're going to learn about this emperor and you're going to learn about this. And your mind is blown. You get off and you feel so much more prepared, right? And you go in and you see all these different things. I can't even enumerate how many things that we would see. Our guide, actually, I remember this now. She was quite a wonderful artist, and she drew for each one of us this cartoon calendar she was a cartoonist, about everything that we were going to see on this trip, and took us through this journey. It was just like, and words, like, because Japan's hard. I mean, most of us don't learn Japanese in school.
Yeah.
And she had handwritten all these names. If you say this, they'll appreciate that. If this is thank you, this is hello, it was awesome. Just awesome.
No, I know. They really try to bring it to life for you, give you just what you need, to your point, what you need to know. It's just what you need to know.
Not too much. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's spot on.
Yeah, not overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. And then Iceland. Oh my goodness. It was called the Northern Lights.
What month did you go?
Went in February because seeing the Northern Lights was a bucket list for me. And I'm originally from Southern California, now from the Northwest, but cold weather really isn't my favorite thing. And I was into it. I bought the long underwear. I did the whole thing. I don't think it was below 36 the whole time we were there. It wasn't a big deal.
No.
But we had some days where the snow was blowing sideways. But it is some of the most beautiful countryside I have ever seen in my entire life. When did you go to Iceland?
I went in our centennial year. I went in January of 2018.
Just before me.
Yeah, so just before you. So we had our big annual employee gala. Like we had a whole week of stuff that took place kind of like midway through the year. And then I went to Iceland. And so went with some friends and partners and my husband and I, and my 3 kids, my in-laws came in from Canada to watch that. And I just had gotten a new puppy, like a week old. Bless my in-laws. They watched the little puppy as well.
God bless them.
Yeah. Totally. Thankfully, she's really cute.
Yes.
But it was great because same as you. Unfortunately, it was one of those that we were there for a shorter period of time, so we didn't get to see the Northern Lights. But it was one of those where everyone was like, "Oh, the night you flew in were the best lights ever," and it was like,
You're
"Okay,
like,
we didn't get to see them, but."
right.
It was amazing. I mean, like, I don't know if you have the same experience as us. I mean, you could go through a day and you would have like almost what felt like 3 different seasons. You would have like sunshine, and then you would have, to your point, snow coming in sideways. But then you would, I mean, the waterfalls, the glaciers, the waterfalls weren't really coming down then, but everything just be that frozen, that look, that everything about it was just, it was amazing. I can't put into words. And then being in the Blue Lagoon at that time of year was just really amazing. It was really cool.
The nature. So I went back and looked at my blog post that I had written about it, and I relived it all over again. I have never seen nature this big before.
Yeah.
So we were there. It had unfrozen, like some of the major waterfalls, they were still icy and frozen, but there was some water moving. Yes. So we did see some of the water moving. But we went to Diamond Beach. Did you get to go to Diamond Beach? Yes. Honestly, my photos from Diamond Beach are National Geographic worthy. They are black sand and these big, and if you're listening on audio, you're not, it's a little harder, but these are these see-through diamond cut icebergs that are laying all over this black sand. Well, I have this shot. It was a terrible day. It was sleeting sideways. I didn't care. I absolutely didn't care. So I'm out in the middle of this, and I take a shot where I think I'm grabbing the black sand and these diamonds, these major, 3-4 foot see-through icebergs. And I catch these other travelers in the distance, and they all have different colored parkas on. So you think it's a black and white photograph till you look up and you see these pink, red, yellow, and green parkas. It was an extraordinary experience. You can't plan for that.
No, that was really neat. But I didn't have as many people, so I didn't have that sort of same experience. But yeah, going into the cave there and it was really neat.
We loved it so much. And we did this really fun thing where we had this glacier ice that the bus driver brought back so everyone could see it and see how clear it was and all that. And they put it on a tray in the bar area of our hotel, and the bartender chipped the ice, and we had bourbon poured over our glacier ice. And it was the coolest thing. Again, completely unexpected experience. I can't say enough for it. It was just remarkable. We also filmed a video while we were there, which is still running. And I still hear when Collette is on Wheel of Fortune and they're on different places, they often use the Iceland video, and it was just such an amazing experience for me.
Yeah, no, it's a great place. And it's the one thing, you can go any time of year. And so I loved that. Thankfully, I will say this, yes. I just went to Finland in early March.
Oh, that's a bucket list for me.
I know you said you don't love the cold, but if you could make it through Iceland, I will tell you, I did get finally to see the Northern Lights when I got to Finland. It was this year. It was early March of 23. It was amazing. But that's also another great one.
And then the reindeer, is that the one where you go?
Yes.
All the way? Okay.
Yeah, so you do the reindeer. So that was really neat because we did that at night. So we did the reindeer, and then you just go. But what's great about it is it's not staged. Again, you're going 45 minutes into the woods, with the reindeer. You get the blankets on. I mean, you're bundled up. I mean, and it was even coming down. But I was warm. You're just you're layering.
You're dressed properly. You're
in
fine.
The evening.
Yeah.
And then during the day, oh my gosh, it was so cool when we did the husky safari. Probably like the biggest highlight of the trip. And these huskies are howling because they are just ready to go. They are as soon as they could be it was just go. And my husband, you drive it. So someone sits, and then my husband was driving, and then you can switch. And so you can slow it down, when to stop. And so there's a whole thing, and it was so cool. But you are, again, going miles into the woods, and you can see when we were on that, there were reindeer just walking in the woods.
Yeah.
So I have pictures and videos of that. And then all of a sudden we just turned this corner at one point, and you could just see for miles or way into the distance, and just the trees with the snow on them and nothing. It was just clean, white, beautiful. And it's just one of those, you couldn't get your camera and your phone out fast enough because, you got your gloves on and you have to, I would take them off and put them back on.
Right,
but it was just one of those, it's an amazing, if you want another cool, cold experience, again, it's one of those places like you're not going to keep going back to. Like you can go to Italy multiple times and you can see different areas and, you can get different experiences. It's one of those, I say to people, if you see me go back, it's because I'm going to bring my kids back. You know what I mean? Because I think they should experience it, but it's not one that you're kind of going to go every single year or something like that. But it was an amazing experience. Really just going off and really being just outside and just nature. Again, those are, nature. But the husky safari, I can't, it was
that is so cool.
The videos I have, the dogs just jumping. I mean, when I tell you I have a video of the dog, just couldn't wait to go and all fours jumping up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. I have a quick side story for you.
Yeah.
So Barbara was our Iceland, this interview is going to go longer than our anticipated 30 minutes because I have so much to talk to you about. So Barbara was our guide in Iceland and she was fantastic. Fast forward 2 years, I'm in South Dakota and I am at Mount Rushmore and I walk in and there's Barbara.
Oh.
And we whooped it up so loud that everyone was looking at us. But even after that much time, how cool was that? That Craig and I got to see it. My husband and I got to see her again at Mount Rushmore, and she was leading a tour there. I mean, talk about versatile.
Yeah.
I just love that story. I just thought it's a pretty small world, but it's not.
It's not as small as you can imagine sometimes.
It's a big world, but it's way smaller than you think. That's what I was trying to say.
Exactly. And what I was going to say too before I got into Finland, the great thing about Iceland is that I want to go back. I want to go back and see it in the fall or in the summertime. I want to see its greenery. I want to see, because it's supposed to be so vibrant then. So maybe we'll go together sometime.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
so that'd be fun.
Well, I hear you might be jealous that I get to go with Collette to Africa.
Yes, I am very jealous.
I have to tell you that is one of the most exciting destinations of my life. And Collette has invited me and my husband to go. Can we talk a little bit about what we can expect?
Yes. All right. Let me ask you first. Have you ever done a safari? Have you been to Africa?
No, all brand new. All brand new.
Okay, so you are in for a treat. Oh my gosh. All right, so you're 14 nights. I believe it's 14 nights. Okay, so you're going to have quite a trip over because obviously it's going to be worth the trip all the way. But the cool thing about the way this tour was designed, so honestly, I'm really excited to hear, again, another place that you're going before me. I've done a Kenya safari, but I have not done this one. So you're being, again, gotta stop this. We got to figure this out. But is you're going to do it by land and by water. And so most tour companies and even ourselves in the past, this is our first safari that we're doing by land and by water. And so it's going to give you a really good balance of what you're going to want and what you expect, which is going to be the big five, right?
Right.
Because you're going to want to see all that. So you're going to get your amazing birds, you're going to get your elephants, you're going to get your giraffes, you're going to get all that great stuff. The carcass that you're going to see. I mean, I can't tell you when I did my safari how many pictures of zebra carcass. It's like you're taking the most random pictures of you're like, oh, there's a vulture. There must be a dead animal over there.
There's a dead animal there.
You start to really connect. It's one of those things that you really start to connect with all of that. You're like, it's really interesting and neat in a weird sort of way that it doesn't seem
it's nature.
It's nature. That's what you're there to experience.
Yes, that's right.
But the cool part is that you're going to do it by water as well. So it allows you to get closer to some of those, that wildlife that you don't normally get as close to, but not too close because they're not as friendly. But obviously in a very safe, in a safe way. So with the tender boats, you're going to be able to get closer up. You're going to get really amazing, pictures, I'm sure. I can't wait to see them. Hopefully we can connect when you get back. Maybe we can use some of them in the marketing material. That would
I
be
think
great.
so. Yes, I'm getting another lens for my camera. I bought a new camera this year, and I'm going to get even a better lens for this trip because this is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, no, this one's really cool. So you're going to get all of that. And then really what I think again, this is one I would love, and my husband and I keep talking about, we want to, hopefully next year will be one of the years that we do it. We want to take the kids on a safari. And maybe this will be the one that we can choose, but you're going to do that whole piece where you do what the expected, you're going to do the big falls and all that, but then you're going to get to visit the townships. And because it's really, as you have experienced, probably a little bit in Iceland, but probably a bit more in Japan. I think you'll see it more on this trip that you're going to take as well, is really talking to the local people and learning about their daily lives and learning about some of the hardships, having some very candid conversations with some of the community leaders, getting to ask questions that sometimes maybe we don't feel as comfortable asking. And let me ask this, do you like to fish?
Well, I do actually. I've been fly fishing in Montana, so I call myself a fisherman. I have the clothes.
Okay, well, good. I don't know that you'll need to take them, but you're actually going to fish for one of your dinners one night, and you're going to so everyone will fish, and then they're going to cook the fish. It'll be fresh, and you're going to have that for dinner one night.
It's so fun. That is
but that's what I think I'm really going to be curious actually to see how you feel this experience is going to be different from, because I have to say, you've done you've done 2 amazing destinations. The third is, I think, will top, honestly, but will be equally as amazing, right? I've done safari. I've done a lot of different places. I've done a lot of Europe. I've done Peru and Machu Picchu, which has been a very different spiritual experience. And I've done Kenya and I've done safari. So they've all had different meanings to me, as I'm sure, the way you left Iceland, the way you left Japan have similar but yet different meanings in what you take away from them. And I think that that's what's going to happen when you leave and when you experience this Africa tour, but when you walk away, I think this one will impact you individually much differently from a overall experience, the adventure piece of what you get. And just, I can't, there are no words I can put to safari. It is just a truly amazing experience. It's one of those, I remember when I was there, when I was back, when I did mine, it was in 2007. So I was single at the time. I didn't have kids. And I just remember thinking to myself, it's one of those times, I don't know if you've ever felt this in travel, you can take a picture, but it's one of those things you're like, I just wish I could share my eyes with somebody, because a picture can't even do it justice. It's because your eyes, you don't realize how much your eyes speak to your heart and to your mind and to your whole body and to that whole mental well-being of things. Right. So I think that's what you're going to get a lot of on this trip. I
feel so fortunate for this opportunity, because so much about travel is about seeing the things, and seeing all the art and architecture and all of that. It is all very, very important. But to me, it's about the people, and it's exchanging who we are with each other. And because I think that's I think travel brings the world closer together. It opens our mind and enlarges our hearts. And I think that this sounds like it's going to do that for us. And I'm so excited. And I'm hoping to take video as well, because I think, still photos, like you said, don't really capture it. The fun thing is I think video does help bring us inside of these destinations and these experiences. But at the same time, you can't spend your whole time taking pictures and videotaping, because then you lose that magical time and moment that you are currently experiencing.
Yeah, no, there's a delicate balance for sure. But that's, hopefully I haven't overset the expectation, but that's how just knowing in what I experience, I know you're going to experience it far better, because it's a more robust tour and just overall experience that you're going to have. So, I mean, I'm jealous, but I promise you, I would love to see it when you hear about it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And I can't wait to share it with you when I return.
Yeah.
Travel Connections is about how we connect with other people, when we travel, a la the conversation we just had. Do you have a story or two that about a connection that you made when you were out traveling the world? You've been so fortunate to meet and see so many things.
You know, that one's, it's a tough one when you try to really
Narrow it down.
yeah, because there's been so many.
Yeah.
I'll say one of the most impactful ones
Okay.
was it also in '07? I'm trying to think. But I was in Peru, and at the time I was still in the product team, and we had done a retreat there. And we were up in an Andean village, and so obviously prior to we brought, coloring books, and we had brought a bunch of donations to bring up to the children in the village and the school and whatnot, and to the adults. And so, we were up, we had lunch with them. The children were doing some songs. They were showing us some of their schoolwork. Again, I'm going back to like '06, '07. I know things have changed where it's not as common to go in and visit with the kids when you do it. But again, at this time, it was, just to put it out there for folks that put the timing into perspective a little bit.
Right.
But, that was when we launched our Collette Foundation, was after that trip, because the impact that it had on us as an organization and really connecting to how much we could help support just that village. If we could help, how could we take that and expand on it and try to make it bigger across other areas where we could try to, help other children, villages, families, women, to help, if they could have a bakery and they could make money for themselves, their families, how can we help support that? What does that fund look like? So I think that was one of the most impactful, I'll say, where it kind of opened your eyes to how powerful travel can be and how it really can be a differentiator and a change agent, if done the right way. And that's a key piece. You've got to know who you're working with, and you've got to make sure you're doing it the right way. Money can go into good hands and money can go into bad hands. And you got to make sure that you do your homework and that it goes into the right hands and you're working with the right organizations. But that was one of the most impactful to really start driving change. The other, I'll say, it's not necessarily a moment, although there's this guy that keeps jumping into my head. I will say I've traveled. I've obviously been very fortunate to travel. Muslim countries are by far, I love traveling to Muslim countries, to Morocco, to Dubai, to, Egypt, so many of them. When you go, they're the nicest people in the world, and you can have some of the best conversations with these folks, and having conversations with the locals there, just knowing what's perceived out in the world of them, right?
Right.
Not generalized, but it's kind of generalized. I shouldn't say it like that. But when you get to, that's why I always say travel's the best educator. And I used to always say it. There was this one person in my life who said, "You know what I love is that you're seeing this on the news about that's generalizing an entire population. I've traveled to these countries. I've talked to these people. I've gone into the mosques, and they're beautiful. And I can tell you that what you're seeing there is not representative of what these people are and what they represent and who they are." And so to me, I'm kind of generalizing. It's not a moment in time, but
it's an opportunity.
It's a multiple moments in time that I just continue to hope I can bring to my children, to continue to say, we're always going to have news out there in multiple formats that are whatever beliefs anyone is, that doesn't matter. To me, that's where travel can be the difference, right? No one's trying to convert religions when you travel, but it's about just learning about why their religion, why they can marry multiple people, what do their wives think about that? We don't have to go home and do it ourselves.
No, we don't need to judge. No, we need to educate.
And it's what makes the world go round. And I think that is important that's just what makes travel, and then you go to other areas and it's all about the food, and it's you just, again, or the wine, or it's different experiences, the siestas in Spain. And so I just think that there's so many different you can just get so many different experiences, and travel's just great. So I think there are so many things that can that have impacted me for sure. In my
been life changing. I'm certain they were life changing
for sure.
You
and
know,
they're not over. So I
no, we have a lot more
many more.
I know. Well, you kind of led me to my next question is, okay, so now you don't know where you want to go. What advice do you give a traveler? How do you even choose? Yeah, I get asked this a lot. I want to go to Europe. Where do I go? Where am I, if I'm going to spend my hard-earned money, where would you suggest they start? Or I don't know.
Yeah, that's always
a hard one.
I know it's $1 million question. It is a tough one. I mean, I think the world's, I think coming out of the pandemic, it's changed a lot. So I would say if you've traveled extensively throughout Europe and you're comfortable with that and you're willing to, and you've always wanted to go somewhere, but you haven't taken that step, whether it's Southeast Asia to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, if you've wanted to go to Thailand, if you've wanted to go to Australia, New Zealand, or something that seems a little bit more Patagonia, we just launched the most beautiful, amazing Patagonia tour. Like that's another one. We just had our designer ride that tour and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go on this. Honestly, I really do. Cause it's a blend of land and cruise and I do want to go on that one. But I would say take the opportunity to go to those places. People always tend to just go to Europe. And I would say if you're not as well traveled, but yet that's where you want to go, then that would be your next likely best step. If you're well traveled in Europe, I would say go to the places less traveled, because those are where the true experiences really actually happen. Like you experienced in Japan, like you're going to experience in Africa. It's like you can have experiences in Europe. Don't get me wrong. You can have amazing experiences in Europe, but the cultural experiences that you can have in some of these other regions that might seem more foreign, but aren't as more foreign as you may think, are pretty powerful. And so again, you got to go with your comfort radar. But I would say more than anything, but again, this is a true story. So I was was I in Barcelona? I think I was in Barcelona and there was a Zara there. And the mannequin in the window was wearing the same outfit than the mannequin in Providence Place Mall. The Zara here is, which goes to show us that there's more commonality, within our world. So if we really want to start going to places that drive differences, then start expanding where we're willing to travel to.
I also think it depends on the type of traveler you are and if you have a lot of experience. And, Collette does an amazing job in the United States as well, by the way.
Yes.
For
sure.
But
mobility issues, you got to know, like, how far could you walk?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on that. You do have travel styles. I think that's what you.
Yep.
So I'm going on what they call an expedition. Explorations. Okay. And that's going to be more active, more walking, but it's not like it's hard walking, but you have something for everyone.
Yes. So explorations, it's small group travel. Okay. And so we've actually had that since 2008. And even throughout COVID, what we continue to do is design. We've doubled down. We've doubled our itineraries. We've doubled the tour product on explorations. Because it's small group travel, we knew was going to want people were going to want more of it. There's obviously a premium to it, but it's well worth it. The restaurants you can eat in, the wineries you can go to, the hotels you can stay in, we can make different choices. I'm not taking a large tour and just, doing it for a smaller group. I'm actually curating a completely different experience. They're designed completely different with completely different brand standards. So that, yes, it might be a little bit more active. But it's really elevating experience because we can, based on decisions we can make with a smaller group. Then we have our classic tour product, which is, it's going to be your must-see. This is going to be your New York City here in the U.S. This is going to be America's music cities or our Southern Charm, Savannah, Charleston. This is going to be, when you go to Reflections of Italy, if you're going to Italy for the first time, that's a great first-time tour. So Shades of Ireland, another one. It's a great tour product. It's where you're going to have a slightly larger group, but it's going to really give you what the must sees. It's gonna be a best of guided travel, and you're gonna have a really great experience. Best of guided with what you want to see, with balance of free time, and choice and everything else. Because we're not gonna penalize anyone who's traveling in a certain travel style. Travelers, they want flexibility and they want choice. You're not only getting that in one or the other. Like, that is something that as our travelers have told us, they want it. So we tailor that into our design and our brand standards and our guidelines accordingly. It just has to, you have to manage it differently based on the group size. We have our spotlight tours. So that's, that's our city stays. These are great. This is sort of, you want to only unpack once, you can, but it's more hub and spoke. So you have a spotlight on New York, you have, you spotlight on Paris, spotlight on London. So these are more Tuscany. Our Tuscany is the top seller, and so you're there for 7 nights, and it's more hub and spoke day trips, but you're back at the hotel at night, and so you're kind of off in the countryside outside of Florence, which is great. It's in Montecatini. It's a great tour. So those are great for like unpack once, but sort of get great day trips, also balance of free time. We have river cruise. We don't own the river cruise ships. We're sort of, we play in it, we dabble in it, but we're not massive river cruise ship owners. We'd have to completely like market everything to run those all year long. So we'll let the big ones do that, but we offer that for those that want it. And then Small Faith, which is more niche product, but those are the big, travel styles that we have. So it's a little bit for everyone.
Oh, there is. Yeah. It's just hard to choose, but
I know.
You
offer trying to figure out
if you can do that. But I would imagine if you call in and you start talking with the representative, they're going to say, what about this? What about, have you considered that? And be like, oh my gosh, how fun would that be? I love going on the website and just checking out what you have new.
Playing around. Yeah.
Because I'm like a kid in a candy store. Oh my gosh. Well, one more thing I wanted to ask you about, and you embody this so much with your family and your job and your travel and all of these things. I have purposely chosen a word to describe my intentions for 2023, both in my business and in my travel life. And that is the word flourish. And as I talk with you and know you better, you are flourishing in your life. Do you have any advice for anyone or for everyone, for our listeners, to help them flourish in their travel and in their everyday lives?
First of all, I love that. I love that that's your mantra for 2023 and hopefully beyond. That's a great one. I might even steal it a little bit.
Thank you. It's okay.
But to flourish, I think, we've had a lot that's sort of held us down. So to flourish, to bloom, and to sort of spread our wings and fly again it's a great opportunity. And so I would say it's get out of our comfort zone. It's not a bad thing for us to get out of our comfort zone. Traveling, it is the best. It is the great educator. To meet people, you meet people, maybe not in the airports. You can meet people in the airports, but like people aren't as happy at airports. But, but whether you're at a restaurant or just walking the streets or waiting in line, you're always talking to people, whether it's locals, people who are living, like you hear that they have an accent and they're from the States, or where are they from?
Right.
Just get out there again. The one thing I will say, and I even say this to my mom sometimes, I took a COVID test. Stop taking COVID tests. Like, do we take flu tests? We don't do that. We've psychologically hurt ourselves. And that is where I think we have to sort of correct ourselves, because, we can get back out there. Like, what we lived through was tragic. It was traumatic. It was a lot. I will say that. But where we were 3 years ago to what we're talking now, because we're in April, so we were in the thick of it 3 years ago, right? Like, people were dying and the hospitals were overtaken, and it was a very scary time. We're not in that place right now, right? So spread our wings, spread your wings, fly, go to these places. I can tell you, we are bringing thousands of people back to these destinations safely, very safely, all over Europe, all over US for sure, Canada, but all into Southeast Asia again, into Thailand. into Africa. I mean, Africa, and I will tell you the one thing I will say about the exotic destination or the Patagonias, the Africas, the Vietnams, all of those regions of the world,
Yeah.
they score the highest excellence from our travelers of all tour products. But it's not that shocking because it's always going to give you a bigger experience than you realize.
Mm-hmm.
Your value for money is always going to feel like it went further because it's more impactful to you.
Sure.
So what I'm going to say, flourish, is go do what you want, what you think you want to do, but you're scared to do. Go do it. Just take that step and do it. I promise you, you will not regret it. That's what I would say.
I love it. And so with that, I am going to conclude our 30-minute conversation that went way, way longer, but
sorry.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your time. You are such a delight and so knowledgeable. And Collette is so lucky to have you with all of your experience. And I'm lucky to have Collette because they're my favorite. Where can our listeners find out more about Collette and their tours and their foundation and everything that you guys do over there?
Yeah, obviously we have gocollette.com. We also just in April, we launched our new podcast, which is Travel Unpacked. So we're super excited. So yeah, you're going to have to listen to me. We'll definitely have you on ours. So we're going to have to do a reverse.
We'll do an exchange.
Yes, we're going to do an exchange. So I'm holding you to that.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, we have members of our team that talk about travel, interesting, fun facts, curious aspects of the industry. We're going to swap stories, popular, what are questions, things that people want to know about travel, but you can find that podcast on Apple and on Spotify. So also a great way, but obviously anything on the foundation and anything that we're doing from that, you can always find on the website as well.
And then I also write a summary for our conversation. And so all the links, I will have all the important links for Collette, where to find your podcast, where to find your Instagram, et cetera, in the summary for the podcast.
Okay, awesome. Great.
Again, thank you so much. I loved this, had a grand time. I'm so excited about my upcoming trip and I can't wait to share it with everyone. And I'll continue to talk about it until then. I don't leave until October. So I'll be sneaking little bits and things out in the meantime. So
thank you,
Jaclyn. Thank you so much.